Hi friends, how's your summer knitting going? My summer fall knitting has been really kind of jam-packed. I've been like tossing around in my mind, and it's this interplay between creativity and perfection. And I'd liken it to sort of like your approach to cooking. Are you someone who enjoys cooking and being a chef in the kitchen? Using lots of ingredients, not paying too much attention to the recipe? Or are you a baker, someone who loves to have the chemistry happen in the kitchen and applying specific principles and the exact precise amount of ingredients and ending up with an amazing product that works every single time? Or are you the chef who wants to play around and see what works out and is often amazingly surprised and happily surprised, but in those moments you sometimes also have some fails? So I tend to be on the side of the chef. I tend to be that kind of knitter, although I have also done baking in my knitting. And I think that there are pros and cons to both. And I don't think there's a right or a wrong way to do this. I think that it's just what our tendencies are and what we feel comfortable with and what we're looking to get out of our knitting, right? What we're looking to, if you're someone who has a ton of time to knit and you want to have a really good product every time, it's probably best to just rely on the pattern and do what the pattern says and come up with a pretty good product or a reliably good product every single time. I'm a long-time knitter. I have just come to the conclusion recently, I've shared about it in another video, that I want to become an expert. I want to become a great knitter. I want to take my knitting to the next level. I'm not there. I'm a decent knitter, but I'm not like this amazing knitter, and I want to get better and better. So for me, it's about the process. It's about what I learn. And I also want to incorporate creativity. I've talked about creativity a lot on this channel and how I feel that creativity is a form of spirituality. It's an expression of who we are on our deepest level, and it helps to contribute to a happy life. And so I'm looking for my knitting to be a creative expression, an expression of who I am. And I'm willing to take some risk with that, and I'm willing to fail, which happens a lot. But I'm getting better and I'm learning through the process. So for me, it's about a process, and it's about what I learn each time. And what I'm learning this time around, I'm knitting this vest. It's, as you can see, it's almost halfway through. I'm doing the back hem, and it's a simple, basic, very, very, it's just got kind of like a drop shoulder sleeve. And I was knitting this really with something in particular in mind. Have you ever done that? Like knitted, oh, this will go great with that dress, or this will go great with that blouse. And there's two things. There's two items of clothes that I have in mind that I would like to wear this with. And the first one is it's a cotton wool, puffy, kind of like puffy sleeve, half to the elbow. It has like a check pattern, like a muted kind of, it reads sort of like plaid, and it's beautiful, and it has a crew neck. And so I thought that it would really be cute that I can mix that up a little bit by throwing a vest over it that would showcase the sleeves and provide some contrast between the check, which is like a dark gray, and like a beige. So that was my plan for this. And I also planned, I thought it would be really interesting because I spend a lot of time looking at clothes just for inspiration. I look at websites like Toast and lots of different websites, Quince and things like that. And I saw on Toast, they had just a lot of really beautiful vests with color work on them. And I thought, like, I could totally, why would I buy something like that? I can make it, and I can make it in real wool, and I can make it really. So that was my intention, that I was going to make something that was color work. And as I started to work with this yarn, what I found was that it's very, very drapey, which I like, which is great. So the whole thing kind of, as I was working through it, I was like, I am going to change my plan. And I didn't want to do a color work pattern with it because it just felt that what was beautiful and what I was noticing about this yarn was the drape and the feel of it. And I wanted to kind of play that up as opposed to making color work the statement. So what I think is something that is really nice about the having a creative approach to your knitting is that if you were like kind of working in a pattern, you may not have cared about noticing that. Or that's not true. You may have cared and you may have noticed, but if you're focused on the pattern and you're kind of being perfectionistic about the pattern, you're not going to change your steps mid-dance. And so that could be great. You're going to end up with exactly what you want, but it also can be fun sometimes to try to change it. And so I was like, why not just make it a basic black or gray, whatever this is. It's kind of a gradient wool. Just make that be the gradient is enough of a color change. It's kind of subtle. The drape is kind of subtle, and just work with those two things and make that be the thing that you notice about this vest. It also changed how I was planning on doing the border of the vest, because I had initially planned on doing just a simple, 2x2 ribbing. And then as I saw how drapey it was, I said, well, I'm going to do a split hem and I'm going to do a 1x1 ribbing. And I'm going to, that way it'll kind of just lay against my body in a more natural way. I won't feel constricted. I want to kind of give this vest as much room. It's a little oversized. I wanted to give it room to kind of like drape, to do what it does really well. So, it's just like an interesting balance that we have as knitters, because we need, in knitting, we need a certain amount of perfection, right? Because if I just sat down and I was like, whatever, let me do this, it would be a mess. So you need to have the math. You need to know what your gauge is. You need to know what the width of your shoulders are going to be. You need to know what kind of neckline you're going to have. You need to have the structure there. And then once you have the structure and you're secure in that structure, you can play and you can use that structure as a vessel to hold your creative prowess, whatever creativity that you want to express within the means of what you're doing. It also allows you to look objectively at your work and see what is working and what's not working. And I think that that's actually a really good skill to develop as you knit, because many of my worst failures have been when I just saw what was going wrong and I wasn't able to change direction. Has that happened to you? It's happened to me quite a few times. But now I'm feeling that as I get more and more sure of myself, I am able to pull back and say, I'm going to make these changes, and I'm more willing to rip my work back. I ripped this back probably a third of the way because I had already started the color work pattern. I didn't like how the colors were working. I didn't think that the color work really worked in that instance because it took away from the drape and the simplicity of the vest. So being able to pull back is a huge thing. That's a change for me. I'm less precious about my knitting. I am more flexible. Rick Rubin talks about the creative act, and he says that creativity likes room to play, and creativity likes space, and it likes freedom. It doesn't like a ton of structure, although there must be structure in order for it to be a good quality product, right? So it is this balance. And I do think of myself as a chef more than I do as a baker, although I have definitely baked some beautiful shawls that followed the pattern to exactly that were, the Antha shawl is one of my favorite shawls. It's so beautiful and I always get so many comments on it. It's just so intricate and there's no way that I could have improvised on that shawl. So when you're doing color work, when you're doing really intricate designs, lace work, things like that, structure in perfection is really, really important. When you're doing more basic designs, or when you just want to have some freedom in your work and you have enough structure to kind of move within those boundaries, creativity is a wonderful friend to you. So how do you feel about your knitting? What kind of knitter are you? Are you a baker? Are you a chef? Are you somewhere in between, like most of us, I imagine? Let me know in the comments below. If you like what you're seeing here, please join. Please like and subscribe. We'd love to have you as part of this community. Have an amazing knitting season coming up on the almost fall weather. So exciting. Have a wonderful rest of the weekend. Namaste.